Envision these sweeping landscapes and faint trails as they once appeared 170 years ago. Native inhabitants nurturing their ancestral lands, hopeful groups of settlers in wagons journeying westward, dusty herds of cattle driving across these well-worn routes, individuals in search of gold to change their lives, and exhausted stagecoach passengers bumping down this rugged path towards a welcome modest saloon and blacksmith shop nestled below. Amidst it all, outlaws lie in wait, ready to exploit those that use these trails to achieve their dreams. Hi, I'm Ethan Gannett, mapping chair of the Colorado Cherokee Trail Chapter of the Oregon-California Trails Association. I'm standing here on Roberts Ranch in northern Colorado at the Devil's Washboard, where the old Cherokee and Overland trails converged just in the valley below me here. Behind me also is Steamboat Rock, and that was used as a trail guide for all the travelers along the trail. Now I want to tell you today about one of the infamous outlaws on the Cherokee Trail, Lewis Musgrove and his gang. Now Lewis hailed from Mississippi and was once one of those very men seeking his future in gold. But along the way there, he turned to a life of crime rather than the honest but difficult job of gold mining. In the 1860s, Lewis formed a gang of livestock thieves just along this trail, and they were known as the Musgrove Gang. Their camp was actually at nearby Bonner Springs. But Lewis was more than a livestock thief. He was a murderer, and a slippery one at that. He killed more than once in his life. The first time he was arrested and charged with murder at Fort Halleck in Wyoming in 1863. He was extradited for trial in Denver, only to be let go on a technicality. That slippery snake. Musgrove then killed a man in the Poudre Canyon in 1867, just over there. And he killed him just for his horse. 1 year later, he was back in nearby LaPorte at the mouth of the Poudre Canyon, running off livestock, presumably to catch and sell later to unsuspecting customers. Soldiers nearly caught him at Cedar Point, east of Denver, but once again he slipped away. Now, the Musgrove Gang used the Cherokee Trail as their means to plunder, robbing wagon trains and government outposts along this trail. You know those old Western movies that showed outlaws dressing up as Native Americans to rob trains? Well, you guessed it. The Musgrove Gang did exactly that near Elk Mountain, Wyoming, on October 25, 1868. In fact, that was a regular ruse by the gang to put the blame on the natives, and in this instance, it was punctuated with 4 killings. 2 of the dead were scalped, but 3 trainmen actually survived to tell the tale. Now, Elk Mountain would factor largely in the downfall of Lewis. Just 3 days later, a Union Pacific Railroad train foreman, John Cronin, captured and arrested Musgrove, and he was disguised as a Native American, and that was after a lengthy multi-mile chase, but he got him. Now, binding his feet and hands, that slithery Musgrove attempted to bribe Cronin with $200 to let him go. But John would not be swayed. He was dedicated to taking his prisoner to Fort Steele. Once on the train to Fort Steele, Lewis convinced Cronin that his leg bindings were too tight, and upon John kindly removing them, Musgrove leapt from the slow-moving train to escape. Kind of the stuff of old westerns, right? Luckily, that snake would shortly be recaptured, though. Once at Fort Steele, Musgrove was summarily charged with the trainmen's deaths and stealing government livestock. He was once again remanded to a trial in Denver. But the Musgrove Gang had an ace up their sleeves. 3 days later, they would don their Native American costumes again and derail an outgoing Union Pacific train with the hopes of perhaps being able to thwart the transfer of Musgrove to Denver, or perhaps maybe even help him escape. But to no avail. Lewis was not on the train, and an innocent train worker was killed for nothing. Instead, Musgrove, firmly shackled and handcuffed this time, was transported to Denver using 40 soldiers from Fort Steele. but following close behind were Edward Franklin, Musgrove's right-hand man, and an accomplice. Outlaws themselves, they were to commit several crimes on the way to visit Musgrove in jail and speak to him. Unfortunately, Musgrove had loose lips and chose to tell his jailers that his rescue from jail was imminent. Word got out to the street and the two visitors were tracked down by the marshal. Ed Franklin was killed and his accomplice escaped. That was enough for the locals. Many prominent citizens gathered to protest at the jail for Musgrove's release. To them, for some Western justice, a lynching was at hand. The crowd was allowed to remove Musgrove from the jail to the Larimer Street Bridge at Cherry Creek. Now Musgrove was allowed to write his family, and he wrote to his brother in Mississippi about taking care of his children from his first marriage. And he wrote also to his current wife in Cheyenne, bidding her adieu. I am to be hung today on these false charges by a mob. My children is in Napa Valley, Cal. Will you go and get them and take care of them for me? God knows that I'm innocent. Pray for me. But I was here when the mob took me. Brother, goodbye forever. Take care of my poor little children. I remain your unfortunate brother. Goodbye, L.H. Musgrove. My dear wife, before this reaches you, I will be no more. Mary, I am, as you know, innocent of the charges made against me. I do not know what they are going to hang me for, unless it's because I'm acquainted with Ed Franklin. God will protect you, I hope. Goodbye forever, as ever yours. Sell what I have and keep it. L.H. Musgrove. These would be the last written words of Lewis Musgrove. He was allowed to roll and smoke one last cigarette as he stood on the back of the wagon under the bridge with a noose around his neck. Musgrove was said to have jumped up into the air as the horses yanked the wagon out from underneath him in hoping that his death would be quick, and it was. With the two leaders of the Musgrove Gang dead, the gang was no more, and the people along and on the Cherokee Trail were rid of the slippery snake and the slithery gang once and for all. Happy trails. If you'd like to learn more about the Oregon-California Trails Association, or even become a member or donate, check out octa-trails.org and discover your trail. And hey, discover yourself.